Do we miss brushing occasionally? Sure. But what you start doing 97% of your time, that's what your body's gonna be. If you're eating healthy, 95% of the time, you're gonna be healthy. And I try to be rational, I try to be real, okay? Just try to do
Yeah.
good things most of the time.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up, here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, and this is where we talk about everything lifestyle and environment and how it relates to our genetic expression. So today, I am so excited to have on my dentist. I have been trying to get him on here. He's like, I talked to him in the fall when I was there for my cleaning, and he said, look me up in February. I have a lot coming up. Well, finally, we are here. And we are going to be talking about today all things oral health. I think it is one of the most overlooked topics, overlooked things that we deal with we should be dealing with on a day-to-day basis, taking care of our oral health, because it actually affects our overall health and wellness. It's not just looking and having a pretty smile. I am a stickler for teeth. You know, I think your smile can really portray a lot, but we're going to talk about the importance of oral health, why it's important, mouth breathing. And I have done a podcast myself on mouth breathing, but here we're going to have the authority on mouth breathing, why it is the implications of mouth breathing and what to watch for in your children, amalgams, dental amalgams, and fluoride, two things that we know are topics that need to be discussed more, not just RFK Jr. bringing all this stuff out into the forefront, but we're going to talk about that today as well. So buckle up. This is going to be a good one. I've got with me Dr. Frank Becvar. He has gotten his Doctor of Dental Surgery, the DDS, from University Nebraska College of Dentistry. He decided to pursue a career in dentistry because of his artistic background and passion for building new smiles. He's been devoted and practicing dentistry for more than 25 years. Dr. Becvar is proud to do dentistry a bit differently. At Dental by Nature in Longmont, Colorado, he encourages patients to avoid mercury fillings, those are those pesky amalgams, and instead choose safe, chemical-free alternatives. With his team, he takes a holistic approach and educates patients on the importance of maximizing whole food nutrition over drugs. Dr. Becvar loves connecting with his patients and thoroughly explaining treatment plans. And this is why I so connected with him back in 2020. And I'm so blessed to have you on here. So thank you, Dr. Becvar, for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. You're talking about what I'm about and what my passion is, and this is gonna be fun for me.
Well, let's do it.
All
So
right,
let's
let's do
start
it.
off. Let's start off with oral health overall. It's
Okay.
it's something that's very rarely addressed. Everybody goes to the doctor,
You betcha.
but everybody hates going to the dentist, right?
That's
And
correct.
it's so important. So talk to us a bit about the importance of oral health, why
Okay,
it's really
okay.
a major piece of our lifestyle.
Well, most people, if you wanna look at America in general, our diets are loaded with chemicals, and this creates environments in our mouth that are unhealthy. And some of these can be, microbiomes of the bacteria that develop there and start to lounge into our gums. And sometimes what this leads to is you'll start losing this bacteria out of your pockets in your mouth, and it lounges up in places like your heart, the valves of your heart. And it can lead to heart attack, stroke, increased heart attack and stroke risk. It can create inflammatory responses in other organs and in other organ systems. And so what we do is we try to teach people how to take care of their mouth in a way that we don't get these types of microbiomes forming. So we talk about number one, diet. I can't tell you how bad the average American diet is, and they have no idea. I was
Oh,
talking to you earlier about, there was a study in Canada, and they compared 2 5-acre fields, one sprayed with Roundup, one not, and realized most of what America eats are Roundup foods. And so
sure. Processed
Yep,
corn. Yeah.
processed food. So what happens is and what happened in this study is one was not even organic. It was just not sprayed with Roundup. And when they took the corn from the non-sprayed and the sprayed, they would laid it in 2 piles in front of cattle. And cattle naturally came and could smell the formaldehyde in the Roundup sprayed corn, and they
Wow.
would not eat it. And what else was interesting, they then compared calcium. They just took calcium and magnesium, but the difference in calcium in the Roundup sprayed corn was 300%. Okay? So so if you spend the money on good organic, say corn, for instance, you're going to get 300% more bang for your buck. Your kids, the people you love. And so you start there, and that produces a better microbiome, a better bacteria grouping in your mouth. And so I focus on diet. So then we focus on flossing. People say, well, I floss, when I want to. Okay.
If I get something stuck,
Yeah. Yes.
see,
Yes.
I'll have to go through the drawer to find the floss and see if I even have it or get
Correct.
the
Some
toothpick.
people don't even I had many patients who came start with me who didn't even know what floss was. We have to show them,
Wow.
and there's a technique to it to get that bacteria out that's a problem is you not just break through the contacts, you bring it down in the gum and stimulate your gums. So they get tougher, and they're more resistant to bacteria moving under them. And that
Oh,
stimulate
wow.
and that stimulation is creates a like I said, a better microbiome. And,
Yeah.
the other thing is I like I like a water pick and flossing, okay?
I do that.
So 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 if there's a toothbrush, I think it's called the Fusion, and what it does, it
Okay.
actually shoots water through, okay, through the head of the brush, and maybe I can give people the link later on for you, but
Okay.
it acts like a water pick, so it's shooting out a powerful force of water, and you can use toothpaste first, then use the water, and then I tell people to floss, and at least once a day. So we have either they do the water pick in the morning or both, or they can just do one or the other, and then at night they do the opposite. And so what you get
Okay.
is a tripod. You get the brushing, you get the flossing, you get the water picking, and that all blows out that bacteria we're concerned with. Another thing, I support is cod liver oil, fermented cod liver oil.
Okay.
We're gonna talk a little later about, some of the things that are important nutritionally, but cod liver oil, they found if you could put it in the pockets of people with gum disease who have larger pockets between their teeth, it creates a bacteria mix that's healthier. So, we have people who do oil pulling, okay? So,
Yes.
they're
Yes.
taking they're taking either, coconut oil, you can do sesame seed oil.
Sesame.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, these types of things, and these will create better bacteria mixes that won't promote tooth decay.
Okay. You know what I found so interesting when I first started using the water pick, and this has been like, geez, since 2018, I
Yeah,
discovered the water pick. And it still to this day, it blows my mind when you use that out because I floss first,
correct.
get
That's a
kind of
good
things
way
out.
to do it,
And
yep. Free
and
it up.
then I figure, yep, free it up. The amount of stuff that comes out into the sink with the water pick after you've flossed, you're like, where does this happen? How does this happen? How is there oh my God. It blows my mind
Yes.
every time that this
Yep,
is all these years that doesn't happen. And what about here's another one of my favorite dental hacks, the
okay.
tongue scraper.
Yes. The tongue health is underestimated as well. Not only does the diet improve, what's going how the bacteria on your tongue, but again, the tongue scraper. It dislodges these colonies from attaching onto your tongue every day. And so a tongue scraper is important too. And I do a tongue scraper every day as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I feel that the number one thing, believe it or not, Susan, is still the diet. I have seen people who
No,
don't
I do believe
and
you.
I'm gonna be honest with the public here. I've seen people who don't brush, don't floss, have terrible home care, and if their diet is they're extreme people about their diet, and their oral health is very good, and that's hard to believe.
Wow.
I would not tell people that because I I think they're rare, but it's
Yeah.
so important. So it's a combination of things working together. But
Yep.
diet is imperative, and here in America, it's harder to eat healthy than you think.
I know it is. And now here in Colorado, we have better choices. You
We
go to
do.
some states, there are better
If you're in
choices.
the rural areas, like, I have family in
Forget
Benkelman,
it.
Nebraska, and you go into the store there, and it's appalling what people are eating.
Yep.
And they're in rural Nebraska, and you would think there would be good food sources. No, they're still
No,
shipping things
no.
into these stores, and they're sprayed with, glyphosate, ethylene oxide, the whole bit. And so anytime I tell my patients, in the summer, go to the farmer's market. We got great farmers markets here, great
We
choices,
do.
organic,
We do.
spend the money, okay, eat out less,
Yep.
okay? Yeah,
Yep.
I think Dr. Phil did a
Cook at
study,
home.
compared people who went out to eat regularly and people who didn't, save the money from that and ate organic, and it was a wash. It was about the
Oh,
same.
yeah, you're gonna pay I just recorded a podcast yesterday, and we said, "You're gonna pay one way or the other. You pay now,
Right.
spend the money on good." That's where all my money goes. I don't drink, I don't go party,
Yep,
I don't go do anything,
exactly.
but I spend a lot of money on good food, and it pays off. If you don't, you will pay later, and the medical expenses, the dental expenses, all of it is you eat the sugar with the teeth. I
Yep,
mean, you're gonna pay. So
you
why
nailed
not
it.
spend it on prevention
Beautiful.
instead of trying to fix it when fixing it is a nightmare?
I agree 100%. And I wanna step back just a little bit. I talked about oil pulling. I wanna share a little bit about oil pulling that people don't realize, is it was believed you have to do 20 minutes of oil pulling, okay, to get any type of anti-karyogenic bacteria result, okay? Well, they've stepped back a little bit on that. A company called Guru Nanda, which makes a lot of oil pulling solutions that we like,
Mhm.
and Guru Nanda found if you'll just oil pull, and what that is strong swishing between your teeth, like gargling in there for
Yeah.
up to 2 to 5 minutes every day.
That's it.
That's it. They saw after a week a significant difference in cavity-causing bacteria, okay? When in a month, I believe it was like 30 to 50% decrease in cavity-causing bacteria. Significant.
That's significant. Very significant.
Just
Yeah.
and what I
Wow.
do to make it easy for my patients, when you go into the shower, throw in your oil and do the swishing while you're taking your shower.
Oh. Oh, that makes sense.
One thing to be aware of is don't spit it into the drains
In the drain.
because it'll
Clogs.
clog them. And so I tell
Yeah.
people the wastebasket or, if you could spit it outside or something, but it will clog drains. But it's Gouda makes a very flavorful, it's kind of a mint. I like it a lot. It's mild, and a lot of my patients like it better than, say, sesame, which can be pretty spicy.
Do you have it? Yeah, because I was using the sesame. I got inconsistent with it, I'll admit. I was consistent for several weeks, and then I don't know why I stopped. I think I put the bottle where I didn't see it, so I
Right.
forgot. So
Put it where you
now
see
you
it.
brought me back to it. I'm back.
Yeah. Pick
Um,
something that you enjoy the
yep.
flavor of. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the sesame. To me, it's, like, nutty, and I love the coconut. I
Yep.
love the coconut oil. So,
Yep.
will you have a link to
Um,
the
Guru
Guru
Nada,
no
I can just tell people they can go on their website there, and their products are available locally and, like, say, even Walgreens, places like that.
Oh, okay. Is it Gurunanda?
Yep, it's Gurunanda, correct.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So, how often I know I come in every 6 months. I hear
Okay,
other people do every 3 months.
great.
What do you recommend? Because it's not just about the cleaning.
Yes.
And I've heard people I was telling you, I was going to a massage therapist and he came in the one day, he's like, "Yeah, my wife and I went to the dentist." And I'm like, "Yeah, you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool for you." Good for you." And he said, "Yeah, we hadn't been in years and we typically brush our teeth once a week." And I was so because I'm so big on oral health, like I say, I have my setup in there. It takes me forever at night. But I was so grossed out by that I
Right.
I had to switch there. I couldn't go back. And I dated another dude who was an ER nurse, never never went to the dentist, and he said I said, You're leaving the house without brushing your teeth?" I didn't notice till I was there one morning, and I said, "You're leaving the house without brushing your teeth?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna drink coffee anyway." And I'm going, "That's your that that's your philosophy? I'm gonna drink the coffee, so I'm not gonna brush my teeth all day after I'm in contact with people all day drinking that coffee." And very
Susan,
much the yellowing of the teeth,
mhm,
uh, because you've got that. So if we talk a little bit about, like, what might even cause that, or can you get rid of that, the whitening, but how often do you clean? And the cleaning is an examination. I mean, you also look for, like, oral cancers, different things of potential disease
correct.
in the
Correct.
mouth.
We do a head and neck exam every time someone comes in. My hygienists are trained to do that. I do a thorough the first time you come in, I check for all those types of things, and we regularly try to update. A lot of people are against X-rays, but I use a digital. Our digital format is very, very low radiation. 3 so let's do comparatively, if someone has a chest X-ray, that's 3,000 times the amount of radiation that we use. Dentistry's done
Wow.
a good job of minimizing radiation. In about 4 bite wings, it's similar in amount of radiation you get from flying for 4 hours from the sun. The sun has a lot of radiation, but
Oh,
I
I
don't
never
think
even
I
realized that.
I try to minimize, the exposure in everything we do, and if someone has a really nice mouth, I cater the appointment or how we bring people in. You'll find this funny. The 6-month cleaning was put in place by the Crest Toothpaste Company, okay?
No way.
It has nothing to do with any sort of research, it's just kind of figured out that it's about the right amount of time, and then but that's for the average person. I get people, if they come in and they have periodontal disease, they've got lots of recession, their home care is poor, we adjust according to what we see. So if I see some people, we may put them on a 4-month recall. If their diet's
Okay.
high in protein, they may build up a lot more of the calculus or the buildup we see on the teeth. I'll talk a little bit later about some of the nutrition involved to minimize your calcium buildup, the calculus.
Oh, I didn't know about this. Okay, yeah,
So,
this is
there are different things that you can take nutritionally to lower the amount of calculus or buildup on your teeth, but in general, my point was is if you've got periodontal pocketing, we've gotta get that bacteria out of there. We can't let that be harboring in your mouth, and the disease rebuilds in 3 months. So if you bring someone in who has periodontal disease in 6 months, that disease has been active for 3 months and they're getting bone loss. So they're losing ground. So,
wow.
that's why some people are at 3 months, some people it might be a home care issue. We say, "Unless you start showing us you can keep your mouth clean enough, we're not helping you at
Mhm.
6 months. So, you're gonna come in every 3," and some people say, "I'm just not gonna do good home care." They just and okay, you're coming in every 3 months, and they don't care, they will do that, but my goal is each time they come in, get them stimulated, get them understanding the importance, understanding how it's affecting their health, understanding when they get older, their immune system decreases, our salivary flow decreases, our mouth gets drier, we're less cavity resistant as we age. So
Well, I
we
thought it would be earlier, would be more
it
cavity.
a
Wow.
very high cavity rate time is between obviously between, adolescence, 8 and 16, 8 and 18, that's a high cavity rate. But then people tend to stabilize because their home care gets better, maybe their diet's more consistent, less sweets, these kinds of things. But then when they get older, their mouth starts getting drier, and then because their salivary flow decreases. Their digestion's poor, okay? So nutritionally, they may not be getting the trace minerals, the calciums, the things that they need to stay healthy. So what has to happen? They gotta up their home care as they age. They gotta up their
Yeah.
diet. They gotta do all these things I've already talked about a little bit.
Wow, this is so I'm just finding this fascinating. I can't wait till this podcast come out because
Okay,
if I'm
good.
sitting here and I'm all dialed in on so much.
And I wanna say a side note. Some of my worst patients are doctors and nurses, okay? Because they just think they know health, and they don't wanna be told how to take care of their mouth, so I am constantly trying to break through my doctors, even my chiropractors, which I think chiropractors know more about general health than a lot of my medical doctors. I'm not
I
saying all
agree.
of them, but they just
Yeah.
have a sense for what it takes to get healthy. And but again,
Mhm.
some of my chiropractors, some of the worst mouths I have. It's hard to fathom, but they are tough people. And then I've got over 40 chiropractors in my practice, and they can be a challenge sometimes. But I love what they do. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
shoot 'em
Yeah.
down. They do great work, but they gotta focus on themselves a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. I think that's where a lot of people fall off that are taking care of others or in the service, but there's that's why I'm very specific that I practice what I preach. Everything you
Amen.
hear me talk
Amen.
about, I actually do.
Yes.
I was in the ER last week. I just had a pain just in a weird spot in my abdomen, and I because I know myself so well and I am, I'm impeccable eating. I'm waiting to do my smoothie as I do my detox this week. And I went there, and the first thing they try to do is put meds down your throat, like painkillers. Like, I don't need a painkiller. I just want to know, is there anything off here?
Agreed.
I don't want to eat your. Don't give me your food. Don't give me food. Don't come near me with a COVID vaccine, and don't come near me with any Cipro. And they're looking at me, like, and even the doctor said, "Well, make sure you do this and this." I'm like, "Check, check." And he said, "I don't have people come in like this, right?" And he said, We don't see anything. It's just probably something off in your gut or something." Like,
Right,
but they're so used to people coming in that don't care or they don't know.
right.
It's,
You're
and
so
we
right.
saw it with when the lockdown happened, and I've talked about this so many times that they closed the gyms, they tried to close the parks, they closed, but yet they made the essentials were the weed stores and the alcohol. And
Yeah.
then
Oh, those were open. They got those open. Yeah.
and you could when you went into the stores, everything, all the produce was there, but all the processed stuff was wiped out.
Yep.
It just was mind blowing, but that's where we are. That's where we are, and that's why I do this podcast to try to get the word out there that choices matter. All of this is affecting how different genes are expressing. All of this health.
Exactly.
Now let's. So really, I love it because I'm personalized health. The way you come across as well, it's personalized dentistry. It's
Exactly.
tailored to what you need, not a
Yep.
one size fits all to
That's
everybody.
that's correct.
So let's move while we're on the oral health. We'll go to the mouth breathing later. Let's
Okay.
go to amalgams
Okay.
in the
That's
mouth
good.
right.
Um, Most people don't know what when we use the term amalgam, okay, these are the silver fillings, but I call them mercury fillings, and here's why, okay?
There.
Silver makes up about 22 to 32% of the filling, but mercury makes up 50 to 55% of the filling.
Jesus.
And so they contain tin, copper, and zinc, okay? I don't have a problem so much with the copper and the zinc, but or the silver. But the mercury it's one of the most toxic substances we know of. And you'll find this funny, Susan, because when I take mercury out, this is what the city tells me I got to do. Okay. Number one, if I take it out, it has to go in a biohazard container. Any mercury I take out, okay, that's number 1. Number 2, anything we suck up in our vacuums, in my basement, I've got a separator, okay, and I've done this from the beginning because I didn't want this going into the environment, okay, but
Yeah.
initially, they didn't care if it got into their water systems, but now they do, okay? So they require me to separate it, okay? So those are all the things that how mercury is handled outside of your mouth, okay? So
And here it's in our bodies.
so according to the authorities, the only safe place for amalgam is in your mouth because everywhere else it's regulated. It's because it's toxic. Okay. And so this is why the ADA won't come out against amalgam. Okay. Because if they say amalgam's dangerous, okay, it opens them up to a ton of litigation. They don't want to be sued.
All the
Follow
money.
the money. Always follow the money. Okay, but here's something you'll find interesting. As of January 1st of this year, it's a perfect year to talk about this. The EU, all of Europe, has officially banned mercury. Okay? It's banned. You can't use it. They don't even have a producer. They're only going to produce amalgam. They're going to continue to produce it for the United States. Okay, as of 2026, July 1st of 2026, you can't find somebody to make it. So I'm curious to see what these people using mercury in the United States are going to say. And my guess is somewhere between 30 and 60% of all dentists use mercury still. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna guess.
Wow.
I haven't looked that up, so, I mean, that's just my opinion. Some friends I have that use it still use it occasionally, but I absolutely you will never get mercury in your mouth in my practice. In 1998, Sweden was one of the first companies to ban mercury, okay? I stopped using it in 1995, okay? So,
Okay.
you can't even get it if you want. If you come in, asking for it, I'll tell you to go somewhere else, okay? It's and then
Why
we
would even people ask for it?
yeah, and so maybe another time we could show you I have videos of how we take it out, but we use a rubber dam, we use oxygen, so studies show if when you take it out, it ends up in your lungs.
Yep.
If you don't have them on oxygen, if they're not using a dam, and,
Yeah.
and sometimes there are places a dam is very hard to put on, almost impossible to use, but we try to, in every case, to use a dam. We have a
Mhm.
detox before, during, and after if people want it. We use chlorella growth factor, and cilantro. It's a combination product. It's safe for infants, children. So your kids had mercury, we can try to, adjust, and we can put them on these
Mhm.
products and so forth. But anyway, so amalgam's got a checkered history. It started, I believe, like early 1800s it was used, and the reason it was used is because it's easy to pack and it's
Okay.
malleable, so it's gives you nice margins, and it does work well. The silver in it makes it very antibacterial, so you don't deal with that so much, but there are some problems, and I'll tell you what they are. When you put mercury in a tooth, it expands and contracts, okay? Because metal, you heat it, you cool it, we eat hot foods, cold
Mhm.
food. So what happens is you end up getting a gap between the tooth and the filling. A micro gap
Ah,
opens.
okay.
So after 5, 10 years, I'm gonna tell you 90% of the amalgams I take out have some level of decay. They just do,
Yep. Yep.
because just because of that. Number 2, they off gas mercury for the life of the filling. So this is something that they used to tell my instructors, what a joke this was. They would tell me, "The mercury is gone after a year." Okay? You get a lot right away, but after that, it's safe. It's fine in there, okay? And so
Oh my
when
god.
I challenged them in 1994, I'm a chemistry minor, so I knew this was off-gassing mercury. It made no sense to me. I said, "Anytime you put anything in an acid environment, a galvanic, an electrical environment, any metal, if you run a current from this metal pen to the other side, and you put it in
Mhm.
water, it off gases the metals that make it up. Called
Okay.
galvanism, okay? Well,
Okay.
so you think about your mouth as a battery, we're electrical, okay?
We
We
are. We're all energy.
we are
Absolutely.
off gassing mercury the life of the filling, and there are dentists who've proved this, and you can get on the net and find this. They'll put a tooth that's been extracted with a mercury filling in it and put it in front of a phosphorescent screen, and you can see the mercury still coming off 25
Hell,
years
you're kidding.
after it was placed. Okay? So stop lying to the public, ADA, because you are, okay? It's a toxin, okay? And if it isn't, then why are we treating it like one every other part of our environment? Okay?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
my favorite one to talk to people about is 1992, Minnesota Fish and Game did a study, okay? They took they took elemental mercury, okay, and they put 1 gram over a 20-acre lake, and that was enough to pollute that lake. 1 gram of mercury is enough to pollute a 20-acre lake. Now think about this. We have most patients, there's half a gram at least in almost all fillings. Any larger filling has one half to maybe even a gram. So let's say you have two fillings, you have 1 gram of mercury, but it's not like the study where they did it in Minnesota. It's spread out over the entire lake.
Right.
It's
It's
kind of
concentrated.
concentrated in one spot, 1 gram of mercury leaching out into your system every day. And that's how miraculous our body is, because our liver is able to detoxify this in some people to where they don't show any health effects. But I'll tell you this, when is that day gonna come when our immune system starts breaking down? When we just aren't pulling out the mercury. I mean, you're just
Yep.
playing roulette. And what's mercury tied to? Let's look at it. Alzheimer's, MS, lupus, Parkinson's, horrible things. And once you get them, I can't reverse them. So that's why I
Mhm.
tell people, go to a dentist who's gonna take the time to do it right. Take the stuff out as safe as
Amen.
you can. Detox fully with our products that
Yep.
we can get rid of the mercury. I've done hair samples before and after on people. I used to do them
Oh,
all the time.
significant.
Yeah, and I don't do it anymore, but we would
Yeah.
get to where we could not significantly find mercury after the detox. So the stuff they stored in their brain, their fat tissue, all that stuff, we're able to get out.
It's so interesting. I'm going to tell you about my experience here. This is when I was up in Montana. So I and if you tie this to epigenetics, right, to
Yes.
the even to the DNA, things like MTHFR. Everybody thinks,
Yes.
oh, this is methylation.
Yep.
When you have MTHR variants, like I'm compound heterozygous, I have a variant in both of the 677T1298C, and it makes you more susceptible to issues with mercury detoxification.
Yep.
Well, I didn't know all this stuff. I didn't find this out till 2019. Right? I'm 59 and I didn't know all this. So back 10 years ago, I have this twitch under my eye. 3 months, it wouldn't stop. You want to talk annoying? It was like the whole constantly when I slept. It just never stopped. And I would have other weird twitches and stuff. And I was started seeing a specific naturopath, and she said, "Let's do the test." So we tested. My mercury was off the charts, and she said, "Do you have amalgams?" And I said, "Yeah, I have like 6 since I was a kid."
Wow.
And so I told my regular dentist, and he said, "Susan, they're perfectly fine. They're safe." And I said, "I want them out." And he goes, "Well, let's just do one to start with." I said, "Okay." I didn't know any better. So he puts me in the chair, puts a dam in. That was it. Pops it out, and he goes, "All right, you're fine. We'll do the rest of it, if you really want them, but I think it's a waste of money." That next day, I didn't realize. So when you said it goes to the lungs, I was
Yes.
a cop at the time, and I remember patrolling school zones as I did every morning, and I was hacking up the weirdest shit, like major respiratory issues. This
Yep.
was one. I had 5 more in my mouth, and I was like, "What the heck is wrong with me?" And I was floored for a month.
Wow. Yeah, and we have patients that will do only one at a time, because if we did a whole bunch, even when I'm doing all those precautions, the other thing I didn't mention is that off gassing that I was showing, happens.
Yep, that's it.
It happens a lot right when you take it out. That
Take it out.
moment.
That's the most
So
dangerous
we
time.
so we use an external vacuum that'll pull that, and so you
Yep,
don't even have any
yep.
chance, but again, you didn't have oxygen, I'm gonna
I had nothing,
so you were
nothing,
inhaling, you got
everything.
exposure there,
Oh
from
my
breathing.
god, and so did they. So I told my naturopath, and she said, "No, go to there's a biodentist down in Bozeman. Go see him." It was like, I think I paid $1,700 to get
Right.
the rest of them out, But the protocol, they're in hazmat hazmat stuff, but I have my
Right.
own, like you said, my own oxygen, my own breathing
Right,
apparatus.
right, right,
They
right.
said, "This is the worst time is when it's coming out."
Yep.
So, they were protected, and they gave me the vitamin C, the charcoal, like you said, like the protocol beforehand.
Right.
I got the other 5 out at the same time. I had 0 issues.
Yep.
0. And you know what? After I got them all out, that twitch stopped immediately. And then I looked at DNA, back in 2019 again, increased risk for Alzheimer's. How much of that got in my brain? So that was going on. Then the MTHFR. I don't detox well. I didn't know. This is where this information can be valuable. All these
Right.
toxins you're coming in with. Are you able to get rid of these things that you're coming in with, or are your
Great
systems
point,
taxed?
Susan. Great
And
point.
bring that up. So you've got food, you've got supplements, NAC, or yeah, I
Yep.
like that better than glutathione even, but
Right.
NAC,
Yep.
vitamin C, but good vitamin C and camu camu or liposomal. I mean, so many of these things play a part in this overall and how we deal with it. If and the more you understand of what your detox systems are capable of or compromised by, it can really make a
And
difference with
yeah,
things.
and I encourage people, I mean, there are different types of detox target different things too.
Yeah,
So I tell
absolutely.
people is, once they've gone through and done the removal, see your chiropractor, go through, get some other ideas, figure out some other things you can do to try to maybe pull more of the mercury if
Come
that's
and see me.
if your methylation systems are failing, work with those guys, and that's their specialty. And I don't get so much into the finer points of that. I tell them to see. I have guys that I like that are good at it, that
Uh-huh.
put them on, methylation and things of that
Yeah.
nature. Yep.
Yeah, that's everything. Yeah, and that's everything I do as a coach is, an epigenetic coach is dialing people into what are your propensities and what's expressing, right? Because you can have great genetics, but again, if you're not doing the things, you can turn down those really good genes. And conversely, you can turn up the crappy genes that we all have too, because we all have both.
Yep.
And
And
so
and that and
lifestyle matters.
yep. And that's going back to periodontal disease. Periodontal disease can turn off some of those methylation, the systems that you're talking about,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
create havoc, inflammatory responses that they can't figure out. Their joints are swelling up for no reason. Okay, those and like I said, getting your mouth health in order, taking care of all that, some of this stuff disappears. I'll tell you some of the most amazing things I've had. I had a guy with heart palpitations, okay, and they were trying to put him on drug after drug. He came in, we took his mercury out, gone.
Done. Done.
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing.
again,
Yeah,
the vagus nerve and different nerves, control so many aspects of things we don't understand, how that works with the
100%.
heart and so forth. I had a woman
And where
for
is it running? It's up
Yep,
here along the carotid.
yep,
Hello?
yep, yep. Had one lady, we took her amalgams out and her hair grew back, and you could see I have those
Doesn't
testimonials on my
surprise me.
website. There
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, a lot this is what I hear the most is, "I just feel better." Brain
Oh,
fog
yeah. It
brain
totally
fog's a
different.
big
That
one.
brain fog.
Yep,
100%.
yep.
100%.
So,
Yeah, those
and
metals
again,
just
does
touch it.
every person see a big difference? No, I'm honest that no, but a lot of people, they'll say, some things I never realized what I was dealing with, and now I just feel better, my brain feels better, you know, a depression, okay, these types of
Oh,
things
yeah. Oh, yeah.
can tie in, and so, I'm not making claims you're gonna have miraculous changes, but I'm telling you, it just makes sense that something this toxic taken from your body, you're gonna feel
Mhm.
better. It makes sense.
Yeah. And think about it. Why take that chance? Because you might not feel it now, but again, as it leaches over time, I was in my what was like what am I 59, 40? I was in my late 40s.
Right.
That's a lot of years to have that leaching,
Yep,
right? And so
it is.
why again, it's do you wanna spend it now or you're gonna spend it later and it's gonna be a whole lot more expensive later when you're dealing with all of these issues. The body, like this was I was gonna say earlier, the body, it's a like you're talking about, it's a complex system. It's not just one thing. It all
Exactly.
rolls
It's all
together.
tied together,
You have
Susan.
to look at it
Yep,
all together.
Yep.
I preach it. I talk about this all the time. I mean, you have a guy out there, I'm going to do 5 DNA snips, all methylation, and tell you everything that's wrong with you. And I'm going, how can you do that? I do panels, like panels,
Right.
because the body is so complex and there's different genetics, different SNPs that combined with other SNPs can cause issues. If you're not looking at everything, you're missing the boat. Just like you,
Yep.
that's why you don't go in and just go, oh, let me look in your mouth. No, let's look at the gums, the teeth, the throat, the neck. It's a it's yeah. Okay. Off my soapbox. Let's talk about fluoride next.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, fluoride's an interesting thing because it's very, very controversial. And in my practice, I tried to I try to eliminate fluoride completely. They sneak it in some dental products in small amounts of things that I sometimes have to use, but you'll never get any fluoride placement on your child's teeth in my office. And all my products are fluoride free. My fillings are fluoride free and BPA free, which I'm going to tell you is a rarity. I get my material from a company called Voco in Germany, and the Germans are big into biocompatibility. And I've had my particular filling materials we use, which are called composites,
Yep.
which are what we use instead of amalgam. They have tested. I used an independent tester, Clifford Research Center in Colorado Springs. They no longer exist because their owner has passed away, but I used Walter Clifford for years, and he told me the company and the material I'm currently using, he is tested most positively in his all of his lab testings. And so I currently use their newest products when they come out because they claim
Mhm.
it's biocompatible. They don't shrink a lot. They bond to the tooth, or I said amalgams, there's a gap
Shrink.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't bond to the tooth. Our fillings actually bond to the tooth and they expand and contract as the tooth, expands and contracts with minor changes in hot or cold. But anyway, going back to fluoride. So what led me into realizing there might be a problem with fluoride? Okay, I can specifically remember the time, and it
I
was
know what you're gonna say.
it was a study in Gosa Springs. It was a horse study. It was by a lady by the name of Kathy Justice. Okay. Let me tell you about Kathy. Most people say, oh, this lady's a kook. You'll talk to dentists. They'll say she's crazy. She's off the rocker, blah, blah, blah. That means nothing. But when you know the details of this study, it'll turn your head because she had quarter horses. These weren't just these were core $250,000 quarter horses that she was
Wow.
raising. Okay. And in 1985, the city decided to fluoridate the water. Okay. Now, so there was no risk factor that changed except this the water that her horses drank because she fed them specific feed because they were quarter horses and she had organic this organic and she was very very precise, a very organized woman. And so the city fluoridates the water and her horses started dying. Okay,
You're kidding.
one after the other. Okay, so she ended up all in all lost 8 horses and 4 dogs. Okay, and she when you have these kinds of animals, you got to figure out what's going on because this is your
Yeah.
livelihood. Okay, so she sent the first horses that died were the pregnant horses, and here's why: they will drink as much as 50 gallons of water a day. Okay,
Oh my god.
okay, but one thing to note is that fluoridation ranges from anywhere from point 0.2, point 0.3 up to 2 parts per million in the water. Like if you go up to Michigan, certain areas of Michigan, like where Kellogg's cereal is made. So this is why they found fluoride in Kellogg's cereal products. Okay.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
So what happened is the horses started dying, and then she started noticing this. She never put it all together right away. That when it would rain, all the animals would go drink the water on the puddles of rain before they would drink the city water. And
Wow.
when she put it together. She says, that fluoride is a toxin. There's something because we changed the water, it's a toxin. And so she took the bones of one of her dead horses, sent it to a guy at Cornell University. I think he was a German scientist there, and he determined it was fluorosis is what killed the horse. okay?
Oh my
And they
God.
put it all together. Okay, so you tell a dentist, and they say, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah." But this is what really solved it, okay? Number 1, only one factor changed, was the water they drank, okay?
Yep.
And then this happened. She kept fighting, and they pulled the water out, pulled the fluoride out. I can't remember what year after that, and the horses stopped dying, okay?
That's you can't you can't make it up.
You can't make this stuff up, and when I saw that, I said, "You know what? This is something that doesn't make any sense to me." Okay, I mean,
No,
I
it's
mean,
a neurotoxin.
it made perfect sense what caused it, and that was the problem, and when I started to come out against it, I had dentists throwing me under the bus left and right, and just from they hear a podcast like this, they'll come and challenge me, but I'm telling you,
Sure,
you look at
bring it.
that study, bring it on,
Yep.
look at the
Yep.
study, and then the reason fluoride do you know where we get the fluoride that goes in our water? It's
It's
a
a waste
fertilizer
product.
it's a fertilizer waste product. It used to come from Florida, but they had bad hurricane in there and destroyed the plant where we were getting it. Now we get it from a company called Solvay in Juarez, Mexico, okay? And Susan, I have tried to analyze packets of the fluoride because I had patients or connections to a couple of places right before I'm gonna get I want it independent. I wanna send it to an independent lab and let them analyze it for me. Do you
Yep, that's no agenda.
fluoride? No, no one. You cannot get the fluoride. They don't want you doing anything. They don't
But, we're
Right.
conspiracy theorists,
That's
right?
exactly right. So I tried to get it in Longmont, that got blocked. I tried to go to Benkelman, Nebraska, suddenly that got blocked. So I just gave up. But I'm telling you, you're gonna find other things in there. Arsenic at higher levels than it should be. There are other things that are being contaminated into our water when they do fluoridation. I believe that. You can't change my mind. Now, am I against what fluoride can do? No, it will harden the crystalline factors of enamel. There's no doubt about it, but it's a
Mhm.
neurotoxin. It's doing all these other things that I
100%.
don't like that and plus we now have nanohydroxyapatite, which I
That's
think
what I
is
was just gonna ask. That's what I'm
much
using.
safer, which is much safer. I offer it through my practice. Ours is eggshell derived, and it does a better job of remineralizing. And we can put it where we want to. We can put it on our patient's floss, and they can floss into the areas where the cavities and getting them the
Oh.
small particle size nanohydroxyapatite, which is basically
Mhm.
tooth and bone structure. Our bones are 70% hydroxyapatite. Our dentin is 70%, which is the layer under our enamel on our teeth. And then the enamel itself is 97% hydroxyapatite. So it's a better form and it
Yeah.
works
Yeah.
better. So I tell dentists, just stop the fluoride. Just don't say anything and switch to nanohydroxyapatite.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, that's a toothpaste I've been using now for over a year,
Yeah.
and I definitely see a difference. I have less sensitivity
It'll
in
cut
some of the areas.
sensitivity
I
better.
had
I think it works better.
major sensitivity. And
It
the key with it, I didn't realize until, geez, sometime last year, I'd already been using it, been through a few tubes, but, yeah, people get off the fluoride toothpaste. You don't rinse it. You're supposed to brush with it, but don't rinse, is what they say, because it should sit on your teeth for a little bit longer. It's not gritty, it doesn't feel like toothpaste, it's like a gel almost, like a creamy gel, and it doesn't foam up or anything, and it's like you don't even I feel like I don't even need to rinse. I just spit, but I don't have to swish. So I actually brush last. So I floss, then water pick, and then brush.
Yeah,
And
great.
I swear by that hydroxyapatite. So I'm glad you had brought that up. And
Yeah,
you can get it, yeah, you can get the toothpaste. I found it on Amazon. You said you carry some. It's
we
easy to find.
I carry a product, it's called Dr. Jen's. I'm plugging this a little bit, but it's got 10% nanohydroxyapatite. That's some of the highest on the market. A lot of the over the counter and when I went they went to an eggshell derived, which I really like. I think it's more natural, and so I carry that product all the time, and it's a mint flavor, and I think it tastes good. I used it
Okay.
myself, so I'm not just telling you, I actually do use it.
Again, we practice what we preach here,
Right,
right?
right.
So,
And
um,
again, I'm just I just want people to know it's what you do consistently in your life, okay? I'm not asking every patient to be perfect, okay? There are things. Are you gonna go out, on a party and have some beer, have some liquor, or do some things? Our bodies can handle this stuff once in a while, okay? Do we miss brushing occasionally? Sure. But what you start doing 97% of your time, that's what your body is gonna be. If you're eating healthy, 95% of the time, you're gonna be healthy. I try to be rational, I try to be real, okay? Just try to do
real.
good things most of the time, okay? And
There you
life
go. Yep. Choices matter.
choices matter,
Every choice you make. That's what I
right?
say. Every choice you make is turning something up that's good or turning something up that's crappy.
Correct,
So,
correct.
choices matter. All right, last topic. One of my favorites, mouth breathing.
Yes,
And let's talk about the implications of mouth breathing and then things that we can do to work with it. Because when I did the podcast, I demonstrated different types of mouth tape. I've been sleeping with mouth tape since 2019. I
okay.
can't I can't sleep. When I thought they might keep me overnight at the ER, I took my mouth tape. If I'm gonna sleep at all, I'm put my mouth tape on. I can't sleep without it. It's like that is my one staple. If I ever did like Survivor which God forbid, I'd be kicked off so fast, I'd drive them crazy. So it wouldn't be worth for me to go. But and they say like you can bring one thing with you that I have my mouth tape and a
Okay.
toothbrush, 2 things.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, I like people to know, first of all, why do people mouth breathe first? And it's mostly, we'll start with kids. Okay. I'm going to tell you a big problem. This will surprise you. Roundup herbicide. Okay.
No way.
Glyphosates. These kids are on a wheat diet, okay? And it inflames them so much, okay, that they've developed allergies, number 1, okay, just from loads of toxins for so long, okay, and that it enlarges their tonsils, okay? It causes chronic nasal congestion. Okay, and, now do some of them have a deviated septum? Do some of them may be born with, certain habit or a posture that they were born, that can happen. But I'm gonna tell you a majority of it, in my opinion, are toxins in the body, and
Wow.
when they get into this habit of trying to overcome, they can't breathe through their nose. Now, where does this go? This is the same issue we have with sleep apnea, but let's talk about kids. They'll have their face will get long, okay, and, their palates get vaulted, and their breathing, it becomes inhibited, and, I've got a hygienist who does, myofunctional therapy, which is something we use to correct these kids that are mouth breathing all the time, which teaches them how to swallow right, teaches them how to position their tongue right. Jennifer Hosberg in my office is an expert in this. This is kind of her thing. She started her own business, and she works for me 1 day a week. I refer a lot of my myofunctional kids, these types of kids who are mouth breathing, to her. What else can Dr. Sebastian Baumgartner? He's an orthodontist here in town. Brilliant guy. He's helping tons of kids with these breathing problems. They're widening their palates earlier. Okay, so
Mhm.
leaving more space for their tongue, helping them breathe better, giving, also, the thing that they forget is how important that diet is. These parents have to toughen up. They've got to say, "Hey, we're gonna put this kid on a raw food diet." Okay?
Mhm.
If these kids can do this, it changes their lives.
Really?
It changes their lives. They have kids that weren't sleeping, and I mean, you think about all the things that happen with these kids. The learning disabilities, they have ADHD-like
Yep.
symptoms, okay? And this leads to, learning disabilities, maybe they're labeled that they're not smart and so forth. When you get them into Dr. Sebastian, he widens their palates, he's in tune to this, and they start to get their lives back, and then their faces change. Like, he has
It
pictures
changes, yeah, it's
before
mouth
and
breathing
after.
face, they call
Before
it.
and after, they look tired all the time,
Yeah.
droopy, they've got, these bags under their eyes, and then he
Yep.
shows them that from 8, then they go to 14, and they're amazing, beautiful people. Their teeth get this can actually cause malpositioning of their teeth,
Mhm.
it goes on, but it's a big deal, and it's a big problem. We also work with groups that do tongue tie releases. The tongue being supported is held into the floor of their mouth, so it can't sit in the top of the palate to create a seal so they nose breathe. So tongue tie releases are huge. Some of these kids have a tongue tie, and you can do all the myofunctional and different things, but you can't get the results until that release is done.
So parents really need to be aware of
A
what their
crucial time
children
is
the
between 4
breathing.
and 8 years old. 4 and 8, I mean, a lot of times they don't catch it until 3 or 4, but they start to see it. You see the lengthening, the tired look,
And the teeth come out, like, I can look
they'll
at someone,
start
you
to
can tell a
flare
mouth breathe,
out,
they're
some of them. Yep,
forward.
yep,
Yeah,
mhm,
it's like they go up and forward.
yep,
I've seen this with several. And I said, "Hey, have you tried mouth tape?" "Well, I can't do that because I can't breathe out of my mouth." "Well, okay, so why are you stuffy?" Let's work with, why are you constantly stuffy?
right,
Right?
right.
Like, it's that root cause. "Well, I just can't breathe out of my nose." Well, why not? Is it deviated septum? In adults, you hear some of that. I have that too, but I mouth tape and I breathe better out of my nose. Now, it might cause me to snore, that deviated septum, either way.
Yeah, a
But
deviated septum is a reason too, and, some people will correct it, other things too. We offer an herbal concentrate sinus wash. We ask people to drive it, that not use a neti pot. A neti pot doesn't get it up far enough, but our sinus wash will actually dissolve polyps up in the nose if it's used right,
wow.
and it's not painful. It's Celtic sea salt.
Mhm.
You can get organic baking soda, you can add there, and then it's it's Eyebright and Golden Seal, 50/50 in a concentrate. We sell it, I think it's like $40, but it'll last you a year or 2. I mean,
Oh, wow.
because you got the concentrate. So you mix them up,
Yeah.
you sniff it,
Oh, so
we
yeah,
put it in your palm of your hand, we close one nostril and you sniff it. It drives it higher,
yeah,
gets the
yeah.
bacteria right, opens up the sinus so they breathe better.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna have to try some of that. The other thing that's important with the mouth breathing is nitric oxide
Correct. I'll tell you about
because
nitric
it's in the
oxide.
nasal cavity.
A lot of people, okay, so what is nitric oxide? People say nitrous oxide? No, it's not.
That's
It's
what they
not what
think.
I use. It's not what I use to relax you. It's nitric oxide. And what it is, it's a signaling molecule, okay, found in the body that you produce in your sinus. And this is why these kids that don't breathe through their nose at night, they're not producing enough. And so what does it do? Okay, so nitric oxide the body uses to vasodilate, lower your blood pressure. Okay, so what happens if you're not producing it? You're likely to have higher blood pressure. Okay, your brain has less oxygen, less blood supply. Okay, so poor cognitive function, maybe brain fog, maybe memory, and this can happen in these kids too. When you get older, I mean, we're not going to see this risk increase so much in kids because their arterioles are so flexible and so forth. But in
Yeah.
kids and adults, your risk of stroke, insulin resistance, and erectile dysfunction.
Oh,
Do we see
big
any of
one.
that
Blood flow.
nowadays? No, you hear it on every commercial. Erectile dysfunction. These guys just,
Nitric oxide.
yep, and why? Because every other guy has a sleep problem because they have sleep apnea, okay? Now, what do? We make a Band-Aid, and I'll admit it's a Band-Aid, but what it does is it pulls the jaw forward and your tongue is attached to it. It pulls your tongue out of the airway so you breathe better. Because most people, I wanna say most people, the efficacy, the likely that someone will use a CPAP machine is about 37%. very low.
Everybody I talk to, they hate it. They hate it. They
Yep.
don't wanna use it. They're not consistent
I
with it.
make a snore guard. It has a titratable rubber band. You can adjust how tight you want it. The tighter it is, the less likely you are to snore. Okay. 78% efficacy, much higher. People will wear it.
Much.
So what I tell
Yeah.
people is work with Jen. Okay. Look at orthodontics if they need it. Okay. I give them all these. Get your diet clean. I can't tell if you get their diet clean, they breathe better. Okay.
You get and
I
with the nitric
like a
oxide
broken record. I sound like a broken record with this diet thing, but try eating raw for a week and see what you feel like. It's amazing. It's
and
amazing.
now just, get rid of the crap, and then for nitric oxide, beets, carrots, celery,
Good point. I
garlic.
was I was gonna get into that a little bit. Beets, leafy greens, another thing is pomegranates are high in in,
Oh,
uh
no, I didn't know about the
yeah.
pomegranates.
So, beets, leafy greens, and pomegranates, those are big
Yeah,
ones.
we see the beet supplements all the time. That's why I tell people that's what it's for. It's nitric oxide
Yep,
to help improve exercise or your cardiovascular.
yep.
Um,
And also these
there's yeah,
inflammatory diseases are created sometimes by not low nitric oxide,
yeah,
so
and genetically, we because I look at the NOS31 genes,
yeah,
and they're about the production or NOS3 nitric oxide expression.
right.
And so we'll see, does someone have a genetic propensity towards low or very low production? And then once you're over the age of 35, significantly less production.
Right.
So you could be
Aging
hit
process, yep.
two ways, right? So I did a beet on this little protocol I'm doing. I did a beet and carrot
Okay, great.
ginger, like loaded
Yep,
the ginger juice this morning, and it's great. But I tell people like the easiest thing: get the beets, the garlic. You just have pomegranate, the
yep.
leafy greens. Get those foods in on a regular basis, and you can check nitric oxide levels. There's Human HUMANN is the company, and they have nitric oxide saliva test strips.
Nice.
They got
I
yeah,
didn't wasn't
first thing
aware of that. I wasn't aware of that. I
get 'em on Amazon. It's like under 15 bucks for a box. And so
Nice.
first thing in the morning, before you do anything, you spit on your finger, put the saliva on the end of the strip, and then you look at it and it'll tell you if it's optimal, low, or depleted.
'Kay.
And so you can test like once or twice a week and just look at that. So if you're older or over the age of 35, start looking because even if you have good genetics, you're likely producing less. And if your genetics suck, then you really need to make
You
sure
gotta
that
work on it, yeah. Another thing is exercise is very
oh,
good for helping
massive.
with nitric oxide levels is so
Yeah.
I didn't mention that, but, overall, like I said, it's a big deal, and I think it's under evaluated by medical doctors, okay? I think
Yeah.
it's a bigger problem than people realize. Mm.
Oh, I think so too. The research I was doing when I was doing that podcast, it was just mind blowing to me, just the health implications, and you never hear people talk about it. And
Yeah,
I'm actually get excited when I'm working with a client and we're going over their DNA and we're talking about sleep. Their sleep sucks. I said, well, let's try some mouth tape or their nitric oxide that looks like there could be issues. And they go, I've been using it. Oh, hallelujah! Someone who's bought it, like they get it.
yep,
I get my hush strips auto delivered every
mhm,
month
right,
because
right.
I can't be without them. And there's all different types. There's ones that are just a little X. Some people just use surgical tape. I need the full coverage that's
Okay,
and these I found stay on through my moisturizer because I don't
okay,
wanna take the others I've had to use, like, rubbing alcohol to make them stick,
right.
and that's not good on old skin. I don't wanna wake up looking like an old wrinkled lady as I already am, but the hush strips actually stay on, and so then I do my little thyroid, my T3, I have to take that, so I take it when I wake up to use the restroom, usually, like, 5 o'clock. That way I don't have to wait to eat, right? Because you have to
Right.
wait an hour. So I keep that next to my bed. The hush strips, you can pull them off. I stick it on my hand, they reseal.
Can
Perfect.
reuse them. That's hilarious. Yeah, good.
So
That's
if
a
you
good
need to
brand.
take it off, if your wife or your husband just, is yapping and you have to answer them,
Yeah.
you haven't figured out sign language or mumble language by then, take it off and go, "Okay, here's my response. Now I'm putting on the mouse tape. Is there anything else you need?" And I put it back on again. So
Good, good. Well, Susan, I wanted to talk a little bit about too, I'm very big, like I said, into the diet, but a lot of people, the facts are they're just not going to eat right. So I'm big into nutrition. I use a lot of standard process. It's a company out of Palmyra, Wisconsin. They have 900 acres of organic farms there that they get most of their products. So we use a lot of their products, but I like people to know what are the top. I have 10 different supplements I recommend, but what are if you could do 3 supplements, I could go quicker with this. What would they be nutritionally to
Okay.
support teeth? And the number one is I like a fermented cod liver oil. It's not from Standard Process, but it's from Green Pasture Products in
Green pastures. I've used it.
O'Neill, Nebraska.
Great
It
products.
contains it contains the good fat, which is and it
Mm.
creates the environment for changing bacteria, I said in periodontal pockets. So it's a fermented cod liver oil, and they blend it with a high vitamin butter oil. And what's unique about that? I'm going to tell you this guy. His name is David Wetzel. He's amazing. I read about him. I've had him lecture for me a couple of times at my practice, but he is a cod liver oil expert. And he found that when he blended high vitamin butter oil, and this is how he makes it, he has organic cattle on his farm. He feeds them specific grasses because he wants them to make K2, which is the driver for calcium, which is where I'm saying it helps teeth.
And D.
So
Yeah.
and it has the natural D in the cod liver oil, okay? So
Yep.
you get all the goodies, okay? Let me explain. Vitamin D brings calcium that you ingest into into the bloodstream. That's what the job is of vitamin D, through the stomach into the bloodstream. And then K2 takes it from the bloodstream and puts it in the right place in your cells, your bone cells. If you don't take those together, the D and the K2, Standard Process calls their product that's emulates K2 vitamin F. This is what that used to be a vitamin, actually. If you study, go back 1930s, vitamin F was an actual vitamin. Okay. They pulled it off, but it's an essential fatty acid, highly like a lot like K2. So I'm going to call them the same thing for simplification of this, but I have my patients simply take cod liver oil fortified with high vitamin butter oil. So you get the D, the K2, and the essential fatty acids, and I have them take calcium. And I like calcium
Okay.
lactate. Not many people make calcium lactate. It comes from sugar beets, and it's a green vegetable form, so my people who are allergic to dairy can take this. Now,
I'll take
if you have
Mm.
dairy problems, the fermented cod liver oil, it does because of the high vitamin butter oil, some people can't take it. But I do have the plain cod liver
Okay.
oil without the butter, and then I add the calcium with it. But if I could pick 3 things, we could talk another time about all the things that add to tooth health, but that's probably simplifying it.
So cod liver oil, calcium lactate, and what
Well,
did I
the
miss?
cod liver oil it's a combo
Cod
product
liver oil,
with
the fermented cod
the
liver oil
and the high vitamin butter oil.
and the high vitamin butter oil, and then the calcium lactate.
So it's 2 products, simple.
Okay, that's what I was looking. I'm going, wait, I wrote 2 down. So,
Yes.
but I'm thinking 3. Okay, because 1 is basically like having the 3.
Yes,
Cod liver oil
you
is
get
basically
3
like
products in 1. You get the D, the K2, and the fish oil all in 1 product. And that's why
okay.
and that's Green Pasture Products, O'Neill, Nebraska. We cut the shipping so it's cheaper for you than what you can buy it on the net. So if you come in, you don't have to pay shipping. We always have it available.
And if anyone is looking for a dentist in northern Colorado or southern Colorado, like Denver area, travel up to Longmont. Dr. Becvar is worth it.
We'd love to have
And
you.
we'll have all your contact information on the show notes. And I just want to say, like, the way I found you, I had a dentist up here in Loveland, and this was in 2020. So I'd been seeing her for a couple of years. And one thing we didn't talk about, and we could bring you on again to talk about it, Lyme disease and teeth.
Mhm.
Lyme
Yep,
freaking loves teeth.
yep.
And boy, does it love mine, right? And so I would get these infections down into like right under the tooth. And I called her, it was during the lockdown. I had horrible throbbing pain in the right side of my jaw that was excruciating. I couldn't sleep. And I called her and she said, because it said call for emergencies. Okay, well, my mouth is blowing up. And she said, just call me back when your jaw becomes like a chipmunk. Can't make it up. I was like, but I know there's something wrong. The pain is unbearable. I can't sleep. And it's, and it was in a baby tooth. It was in my baby tooth because I still had a baby tooth left. And I called her back. She wouldn't see me. And I thought, who am I going to find? And I want someone that's going to get this. So I was looking for natural dentists and I found Dental by Nature and I called you guys and you were like, come in, I will see you. And I never left. You've been stuck with me for 5 years. And all my complaining that don't touch this tooth, is the bad one. But you were so gracious and really just helped me through that. And I had to end up going to the oral surgeon and have that baby tooth removed. And he was like, maybe it's not a big deal, Susan. And I said, well, we're thinking that there is a big deal, even though it wasn't showing on x-rays. He took out the tooth and he said, oh my God, there was a hole and infection under that tooth that had that gotten worse, I would have been in major issues. So it's just kind of a crazy story how I ended up with you, but I'll never forget that. If you're, when your jaw looks like a chipmunk, call me back. Like, are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
I'm sorry, Susan.
Sweaty.
Yeah.
But
Well, thank you. Thank you.
so
Yeah.
thank you. And I will say again, like look up Dental by Nature if you're in Colorado. The whole office staff, his wife Jennifer is fantastic. She's one of the dental hygienists and just the nicest people in there and great work. I mean, look at my teeth. Look, I mean, just great work. So thank you. But I appreciate you so much coming on here and enlightening us in the world of oral health today. I think this is a conversation that is long, long overdue and just needs to be put out there. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm always happy to do it.
Awesome. And okay, everybody, please, 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 if you could share this with everybody on the planet, let's get the word out there about oral health. Please share this podcast. And then thank you for listening. Get out there, make it a great day, and be your most authentic selves. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who'd find the information useful. Please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts, and it'll help the information get out to others. If you're interested in seeing if we're a great fit to work together, the link is in the show notes below where you can sign up for a free consultation with me. So go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.